Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Nothing Fancy Acres. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than what you see or have been seeing. Normally, I'm outside doing something. Amanda's outside doing something. You know, we're always outside. That being said, with fall hitting, we wanted to get a little more creative with our videos. Come inside, show you some other variety of things. So that being said, today I'm doing a video on how to do a Mississippi pot roast. There's a million videos out there. It's pretty much the same recipe across the board. That being said, I've found a way to get a little creative with it. Um, you know, we really like it this way. So it's kind of a smoked Mississippi pot roast. Most of the recipes that you see, it's a generic foundation, a 3 to 4 pound chuck roast, a packet of au jus or beef gravy, quarter cup of butter, let's see, pepperoncinis, and ranch seasoning. That being said, our spin on it is I like to smoke the chuck roast for about 2 to 3 hours prior to putting everything in the crock pot. The other thing is I will cut up an onion and just lightly fry it 5 to 6 minutes. It doesn't need to be a cooked onion per se. Just kind of soften it up some. That way, when you throw the chuck roast in the crock pot, you just have a little extra flavor. So that being said, the other tip is we have noticed that this recipe is very salty. I mean, it's loaded with sodium. They say it's a keto recipe. That being said, I don't really understand how keto works, but the amount of sodium that's in this recipe will make a cow turn its tongue up. But anyway, to that point, we went with unsalted butter and reduced sodium au jus. Hopefully that kind of helps cut down on the saltiness a little bit. I firmly believe you can add salt, you can't take it out without watering down your recipe. So let's get to it. So I use olive oil as a binder for chuck roast. In this case, so I'm just gonna go ahead and dump a little bit of that on there. It doesn't have to be some crazy amount. And just so everybody's aware, I did wash my hands, and so just gonna lather that on there. All right. Like I said, it doesn't have to be some crazy amount of olive oil, just a teaspoon or two. The next thing I'm going to use is this barbecue rub. It's really just a conglomeration of all the rubs that I run low on, and then we have these handy salt or pepper containers from Kirkland's or Costco, and I just kind of throw it all together. I could not tell you what's in it. It's always good, and so worst case scenario, I end up adding a little bit of coarse ground black pepper to either cut down on the sweetness or the saltiness in whatever blend I end up with. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit it up here really good. And so today we're gonna add a little bit of conversation to the mix, just so you guys aren't bored with the video. So on my list, so now I have Fridays off. Amanda's off doing her thing with work. And so today on the honey-do list, I've got to paint the chicken coop finally. I'm sure that you've all noticed that in other videos that it's just been bare T111. And so gonna get that painted today. Maybe even get some trim for it and then get that trim painted. I may do another video on that. I haven't decided yet. Kind of depends on where the day takes me. So you want to season the sides on this as well, just to make sure that you get a really good lock on the flavor. You're not going to end up with some crazy amount of bark on this, just because again it's only going to be on the smoker for like 3 hours. It's not very long. Really, it's just enough to kind of add some flavor. Um, and the smoker that we use is a pellet smoker, pellet grill, easy bake oven, depending on who you talk to. But anyway, so there's that. I'm actually going to let this sit for about 10 to 15 minutes, just kind of let the moisture pool out of the meat and grab some of that seasoning. Got the pellet grill fired up, warmed up. So I'm going to do that at about 220 again for like 3 hours. So let's let this thing do its thing, and we'll meet you out there. So now that the chuck roast has had about 15 minutes to set up, we're going to go ahead and throw it on the pellet grill. So what I have here is a Pit Boss Pro Series 850, I believe it is. Amanda actually got it for me as a graduation gift when I finished up trade school about a year and a half ago. And we've made hundreds of meals on this thing. I mean, we do everything with it. You know, obviously I treat it as a smoker, but then also it can be an outdoor oven during the summer months. We do burgers and all kinds of good stuff on it. So what I did was the fire pot on this is like right in the center here, so I actually moved it off just a little bit just to make sure that we don't end up with a super dry piece underneath. So we're just gonna let it do its thing. And again, got it set at about 220. It doesn't need to cook forever. We're just pulling in a little bit of smoke before we throw it in the crock pot. We'll see you in a couple hours. All right, everybody. So it's been about 3 hours. Um, Chuck roast, it's reading right around 115 internal, which I'm not going for any kind of doneness as long as it's not over medium rare. At that point, it would just become kind of stringy and gross. But yeah, so let's check this thing out. Again, not overdone, nothing crazy with bark. Like that's not what we're going for. We're just picking up on a light flavor here. So I'm going to transfer it over to the baking sheet and bring it on inside and show you guys the rest of the process. All right, everyone. So we're back inside. Got the chuck roast. I did cut up an onion. We kind of like bigger petals of onions versus like a diced onion. That's just a preference thing. It's totally up to you. So what I'm going to do is we actually have an Instant Pot, and the beauty of that is you can cook this whole meal in that minus what you're doing on the smoker. So I grabbed a little bit of bacon fat out of the fridge just to add some flavor. I can do that, show you guys how to render that down and filter it and make it all nice and clean in another video. But anyway, so we're going to go ahead and hit this in the saute mode. Hit it on high, start, and we're going to let the bacon fat melt down a little bit. And then we're also going to add our half of stick of butter now. Again, this is a quarter cup. It's what the recipe calls for. And one more time, my hands are clean. So I'm going to drop that in. Wipe off their hands real quick, and then we'll wait for that to heat up, and we'll get these onions sauteed. So while we're doing the onions, I'm going to mix those around a little bit. I got the timer set for 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about what I got going on outside. So when we put the siding on the chicken coop, we went with a lighter T111. I gotta say, it is a pain in the butt to fill in all of those little cracks. But yeah, that's all I'm doing today is just painting and making this. So hopefully this turns out well. We've had it a couple times. We really like it. Um, yeah, yeah. All right, so the onions are chugging along, and I'll catch you guys in the next clip. All right, so now that the onions are done sauteing, everyone good mix yet? Again, you don't want them to be overly done. We've actually got them browned a little bit here, but I think that's mostly because of the butter. So I'm going to go ahead and dial this thing back. So I'm going to hit cancel. slow cook. And we're going to do this on high for like, I don't know, 3.5 hours. Oh goodness. There we go. All right, so got it set on high. Going to drop this in. So we've got that setting on the bed of onions. Pre-measured the ranch mix just because, probably didn't need to see all that. But just gonna kind of distribute that evenly over top. Again, low sodium au jus. You can always add salt, can't take it out. Same thing, just gonna kind of go over top of the chuck roast with it. Nice and even. And then I've got the pepperoncinis already set out. My best half asked that I remove the stems, so I had to pop those out. Recipe calls for 6. These pepperoncinis are pretty small, so I went ahead and just grabbed 7. Nothing wrong with some extra flavor. And then what I'm going to do is just hit it with a little more barbecue rub. Nothing too crazy, just a couple sprinkles. And pepper. We seem to have acquired a pretty intense desire for pepper. So anyway, that's all we're looking at, guys. Really not difficult at all. The most, labor-intensive part of it is smoking it, and that's even a choice. You can just pan fry it or sear it quick and just drop it right in, and you'll end up with the same result, just with a different flavor. So we're gonna let it do its thing, cook down, and we'll see you guys in about 3.5 hours. All right, everybody. So I've got the beef all shredded up. I got some potatoes going for mashed potatoes. I'm gonna have Amanda try a piece out just to make sure that it passes the taste test, and then we're gonna have some dinner and crash out for the evening. So there you go, baby. All right. There you go. Is it? All right. So you guys got the keys. Use low sodium, no salt stuff. That's the ticket. Otherwise, it's gonna be like licking a salt lick. Thank you all so much for joining us for this video. If you ever want to see any other recipes that we do around here, just let us know. In the meantime, give us a like, subscribe, follow, whatever platform, and have a great evening. Thank you.